The Gurugram International School case is something that I hold very, very close to my heart. Something that I've covered through channels. Even after I went to India today, I had a couple of stories on it. And it also has possibly the blockbuster story that I will reveal today. It was a 7-year-old.
This is an exclusive, not nowhere to be found
Yes.
story, right?
Yes.
So let's give a background to what it was and yes.
Exactly. So this was a 7-year-old whose throat was slit in school 10 minutes after his father had left him at the gate. And when you got there, when you saw the crime scene, when you see a child's washroom being drenched with blood, and in angles which sort of show you how brutally the crime was committed, it pinches your soul in a lot of ways. And that's what this case did to me. And when I saw the father running towards a certain space just to ensure that his child even now is taken care of, that's a sight that I will never forget in my life. But the bigger part of the story was, since day one, so it so happened that 12 or 14 hours, I don't know the exact timeline, I don't remember it right now, but within a few hours, less than a day for sure, morning, I think we reported the crime, and by the evening...
So as soon as the crime happened, you were there?
Yes.
Okay.
A colleague of mine and I were one of the first journalists to reach there, and we saw everything unfold.
You saw the whole scene. You saw the crime. The police had just fresh come in, I'm guessing.
Yes.
Yeah,
yes,
and
yes.
you had seen the body.
There was the local police which was there, but the actual battalion of people that had to come in to sort of safeguard the crime scene, etc., they were coming in as we went. And I don't know, I wouldn't want to name that person, but it was just really sad to also see a couple of people trampling onto the crime scene and not having the basic decency to not spoil evidence at that point in time. Shit. Which is a basic problem that happens in India with the Arshi Talwar case, you must have heard.
Correct.
And I don't think that has changed. Cordoning off a crime scene, even till date, with respect to most state police forces, is not done to the extent that it should be done. And that compromises a lot of evidence. Now, when it comes to compromising evidence, that brings me to the biggest story of the Gurugram International School murder case. Since day one, okay, so within hours, less than a day after the crime was reported, the Haryana police presents a bus conductor called Ashok before the media. And this guy goes ahead and confesses, saying, I tried to sodomize the kid. And when the kid resisted, I slit his throat. I had the knife in my bus. I was carrying it to the washroom.
You're saying the bus conductor admitted to committing it? Okay.
He admitted that on camera before the media. The close was done and shut, and I think.
And how long was the duration from the time of the murder to him confessing?
Less than 18 hours.
Okay.
Less than 18 hours. 16 to 18 hours is what I'm guessing right now, but the exact time is not something I'm not sure of at the moment. There, as journalists, we could have just shut the case, and I think collectively, as an ecosystem, every single journalist who's worked and every single media house which has aired this story should take pride in this one story, because if it was not for the media and the journalists camping 17 hours a day outside that school, a CBI probe would have never been launched and the justice would have never been delivered.
Right.
It was very murky for us that within hours, somebody who's limping, seems to be a little sedated, okay, is coming in and confessing that I tried to sodomize the kid. And all of this we got to know later on when we went to his village, started talking to his family, understood the fact that he had kids. And people were very sure of the fact that, he wasn't somebody who would try to sodomize a kid out of all things, because he had an established family. Then we went and asked them if everything was fine with his legs. Said, yeah, he used to walk to his bus every single day. If he's limping right now, something happened. Now, this was on the sidelines. On the other hand, I remember this one peculiar interview of Mr. Mohit, who was the advocate of the conductor in question.
Okay.
It so happened that all the lawyers got together in Gurugram and said, we will not take up the conductor's case at all. So a lawyer from Rohtak had to come in and take his case.
Oh.
This was a cabal of sorts. And since day one, this man has been saying that there's this one guy that I can see during the course of that CCTV footage. Looks like a 15, 16-year-old. It's not clear as to who this guy is. But what the hell is he doing there? He has something to do with the murder for sure. And it's not the conductor. This was within a week of the crime being reported, mind you.
And all of this information is coming out through journalists,
Yes.
not through the cops or not
Yes.
through the CBI
No,
yet.
it's either the lawyer of the conductor or the victim or the journalist, right? At that point in time, the police brushed it under the carpet, just went out and said one thing, that the case is shut according to us because we found the culprit.
Right.
It was this guy who tried to sodomize him, he's confessed. I mean, what else is left? But once the media started camping there and piling pressure on them, the political fraternity had to come down. Mr. Manohar Lal Khattar had come down, and there was this brief time where there was a lathi charge on the parents who were protesting.
Oh.
I'll have to give it to the parents there, Rohit. Within hours of cremating his son, this man was on national media on a debate fighting for justice. It takes a lot for a father to do that.
Yeah.
And when we saw him, very rarely do you find family members coming out and being out in the open with respect to the fight.
Correct.
But when we saw that he was doing that, it gave us more power to be able to use the
Take this forward.
Yeah, use the power of being the fourth pillar and ensure that the right is done. And eventually a CBI probe was launched. I still remember this. I got a call from a source who said, यार इस हफ्ते में इस बच्चे को 8 घंटे 3 बार क्वेश्चन किया in the presence of an elder because he was a juvenile at that point in time. In my head,
Who are you talking about at this point?
Exactly. That's the whole question, right? Until then, everybody was clueless as to who this guy is. Why on earth is the CBI questioning him thrice a week? Because the CBI is the premier most agency of your country. They don't have time to waste.
Correct.
In my head, having covered crime before, I knew that he had to have something to do with the murder. Otherwise, this questioning wouldn't have happened.
Correct.
That too, they wouldn't be so dicey with a juvenile out of all people. A few days later, that is exactly, I think, 11 days later, the official word comes out.
From the CBI.
Has arrested a 16-year-old student from the same school who was the actual murderer and came out and gave a clean chit to the conductor, saying he had absolutely nothing to do with
CBI
it.
gave a clean chit to the guy who, basically you're saying, confessed 18 hours after the murder.
Exactly.
And then took another kid from the same school.
Saying this guy did it.
Okay.
And very important point to note here. Same set of evidences. Right? The same CCTV footage, the same blood stains,
Yeah.
the same knife. Everything was the same. Two different investigative agencies, two absolutely different verdicts, whereas one was right and one could be proven in court. I mean, there's still no verdict. The case is still sub judice.
Oh, it's still not.
It's still not done, and they're still deciding on whether or not they should try him as an adult. I mean, recently, a couple of weeks ago, it was declared that he should be tried as an adult because he's above 16 and below
Right.
18. This went on for quite some time. The supplementary charge sheet was not filed for a lot of time, and a lot of glitches here and there. It was during this time that one of my sources called me up and gave me the biggest story of my life. He called me up at around 11 p.m. or 12 p.m. Saying, come home. I said, sir, I'm anyway coming to you tomorrow. Why should I come home at this hour? Like, this is very big, Akash, just come home. I called up the office. I said, I need a car right now. I need to go. Like, what are you doing at this hour? Why would you meet a source at 11 p.m.? I said, no, this is important. I went in. All he does is connects a Bluetooth speaker to his phone and plays a recording. I'm numb for the next few minutes, okay? And I still stand by this story, Rohit, and I'll tell you why I still need to stand by it.
तो आपके ऊपर क्या बहुत ज्यादा प्रेशर है केस से हटने का?
नहीं हटने का नहीं, केस बंद करने का है सर।
अच्छा,
ये तो आप अपनी कंजम्पशन के लिए रखिए, बाकी आयोग को हिट कर दीजिए कि एक दिन नहीं आया, गुरुग्राम कोर्ट में भी नहीं आया। वो श्रीमती कहेगी कि वो बीमार है, लेकिन आप बोलो कि नहीं, वो तो ज्वाइन किया हुआ है। ठीक है ना सर? और ये झूठ बोल रहे हैं, समझ गए ना सर? क्योंकि लीड कमिश्नर तक जा रही है।
That recording was of the investigating officer of the Central Bureau of Investigation telling the lawyer of the victim that there is pressure on me from one section of the Central Bureau of Investigation to catch this actual murderer, get him convicted, but do not venture into the botch up of the Haryana police because my lead goes all the way up. His words again, quote unquote, nothing that I'm saying or you're saying. Because my lead goes all the way up to the then Commissioner of Police of Gurugram. And this is, in my sense, this was the first time that on national media the entire CBI versus CBI war was unearthed.
Wow.
Because this officer in question belonged to one of those camps, and he claimed that the other camp was piling pressure on him.
Pressurizing him to not to reveal the right killer, but not let it show as the fuck up of
Yes,
Guru.
and this people can find on Twitter. The story is out there. We've played out an entire figurative audio with the victim's lawyer on camera, accepting the fact that this was his voice and he was the one who spoke to the investigating officer.
Wow.
Now, what happened after that was very shocking. In order to do damage control, so to say, it so happened that an absolute denial was issued by the agency, saying this tape is absolutely fake and malicious, and this is untrue. Post which we dropped that story. Only to realize that 6 months later, the same premier-most institution uses this story in one of their affidavits in the Supreme Court of India to say that this particular investigating officer is someone who should not be counted upon because he revealed XYZ details as telecasted by CNN News 18 on this particular day.
Wow.
So that's exactly how it unfolded. And till date, I would go to the extent of saying we all stick by that story. And post that, a lot of things happened in the CBI. There was a CBI versus CBI war. The number 1 and the number 2 filed cases against each other.
Yeah.
Indian Express came out with that
Correct.
blockbuster story. But the tip, it all started unfolding with this story that I'm talking about.
Okay, so we still haven't gotten to the crux of who the murderer was.
As on date, it is under trial. The conviction hasn't happened. But having observed, covered, and researched extensively on this story, I genuinely believe that the CBI has got it right this time. And the most shocking part is the reason that was revealed, which was the fact that the 16-year-old did not prepare for his examination.
So allegedly, the 11th grader, I think, or 10th grader, 11th or 10th grader, basically went into the washroom, slit the kid's throat.
So the story or the version that was put out by the agency was this, that he had not prepared for the examination and he wanted to get it postponed. And he felt that doing something like this would have resulted in that. He carried the knife. He was looking for somebody to attack at that point in time. And unfortunately, the victim and the culprit in this case had a common class, so were acquainted with each other.
Got it.
So that's exactly when the victim walked in. So he put his hand around the victim's shoulder, and all of this was there in the CCTV footage from what the sources have told us. They takes him into the washroom and slits his throat. That's it. And how barbaric that crime was,
swear.
it can just shake you up.
Yeah.
And I don't know, man. Till date, fortunately, I'm in touch with the family. We do speak every now and then. But if there's one story that I will never forget, that I will be proud of, the entire media fraternity should be proud of, it's that one story. Because if it wasn't for the media piling pressure, I think, imagine the victim's anyway gone. His family's life has been destroyed because of the loss. The conductor's life is destroyed.
The conductor, coming back to the conductor, you said he confessed. What happened with that?
He came out and he evidently accused and named officers after that who forced him to confess. He claimed that he was electrocuted. He claimed that he was sedated. He claimed that he was thrashed before he was presented the media to confess what he did. And he eventually came out and said, I don't even know what the hell sodomizing means. I've never even encountered... And by then, it was so sad, Rohit, to see that his family was disowned in the village. No other source of income, so to say. And by then, a lot of power clouds had come into the scene to make use of it one way or the other. A lot of times you'll observe this in sensational stories, that it starts off as fight for justice, but a lot of times it is hijacked by a lot of groups of people.
Correct.
Who are interested in driving it to their agenda.
Okay, so my next question is, what motivated the Gurugram police to switch the case? Or allegedly sort of get someone else to be the culprit of this?
Well, I'll tell you what, as on date, on record, they still say that they were inefficient, so to say. That's the reason they could not arrive at this conclusion. Some of them even might stick to their stand. But having spoken to a few of these officers who were named by the conductor, again, this does not establish anything, but these are just dots that need to be taken into consideration. That bar association or the group of lawyers who boycotted the conductor and did not take his case up, the actual culprit, who was the accused today, who's the 16-year-old, his father was a member of that group.
Oh, his father was a lawyer himself.
Yes, he was a lawyer himself. He was very respected in that scene. And there were also rumors about, him having clout to the extent of those who are very high up in the state.
Got it.
As on date, apart from the people who've botched it up, nobody's in a position to pinpoint and say this is the reason why they did this. But there had to be a major reason.
Right.
Because you cannot be so wrong, and you cannot be so wrong within hours of the murder. And if you have willfully violated somebody's privacy in terms of their bodily being, and if you have intentionally, if what the conductor is alleging is true, then you had to have some push from somewhere to be able to do. The sad part is, Rohit, till date, they're all doing their jobs well and happy, right? I mean, I don't think the lives of those who botched this case up have been impacted even remotely to the extent that the conductor's life has been impacted or his family's life has been impacted.
If you found this clip informative, you can watch the full podcast on our main Barely Opinionated YouTube channel. Make sure to subscribe to this channel for more such content.